You were running on this idea of a universal basic income.
Universal basic income.
Give me $1,000.
I need some money. Money, please.
$1,000 deposited into your account every single month. No questions asked, no strings attached. How you use it, totally up to you. In a world full of disclaimers, loopholes, and fine print, this seems a little too good to be true. So the question we're asking today is it too good to be true? Universal basic income is an idea that's gained a lot of steam in the last few years. It was championed by 2020 presidential candidate Andrew Yang. The idea, a guaranteed amount of income for every single American over the age of 18 just for existing. Remember those stimulus checks we got during the pandemic? Think that, but a consistent amount and coming every single month.
That's called a job!
In Andrew Yang's Freedom Dividend, he proposes $1,000 per month to every single American over the age of 18. The money comes no matter what. Whether you spend the entire day playing Fortnite or if you run a Fortune 500 company, you're getting paid. Now, why would we implement something like this? What's wrong with our current system of doing a job and getting rewarded? Well, because a lot of people are about to lose a lot of jobs. Not because of a recession, but because of automation. We are currently on the precipice of an automation revolution in this country. Every day, we're finding new ways to replace human workers with robotic systems. And the 5 industries impacted by automation the most, well, those are the 5 most common types of jobs in America. How common? About half of all of the jobs. Could we regulate this automation? It's doubtful. Good luck convincing a CEO to keep on a human employee when a robot can do the same job at a fraction of the cost. Unfortunately, this means a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs, and it's coming up quick. The Obama White House put out a release that said that 83% of the jobs that make less than $20 an hour will be fully automated by 2030. Bain and McKinsey predict that 20 to 30% of jobs will be automated by the end of the decade, and MIT agrees. We're on the verge of massive unemployment. Counter-argument. What if these people just need to get a new job where they aren't easily replaced by AI?
Anybody who can go down 300 to 3,000 feet in the mine sure and hell can learn how to program as well.
While that may sound good in theory, it's wildly unpractical. Most of the people in these jobs are older, lack education, and have been doing the same job for decades now. As a country, we are not good at retraining people. But even if we were, if you're a business owner, are you more likely to hire a fresh 20-something right out of college or a 50-something with no industry experience? Long story short, these people aren't going to be in a good position to succeed. And again, it's a lot of people. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it's one we need to accept fast. Now here's the part of the video where the finance bros flood the comments with things like, cool idea, but where's the money coming from? Ever heard of inflation? Yeah, great solution. Just have the Fed print more money. And yeah, they're absolutely right. A UBI that provides every American adult with $12,000 per year would cost the US government about $3.1 trillion per year, which is equal to about 90% of what the government already collects in revenue. If we want this system to work, we're gonna have to partake in Bernie Sanders' favorite hobby, taxing billionaires. As more of these industries embrace automation, it's gonna be a lot cheaper and easier for them to run their business. Let's look at robot truck drivers, for example. Any company that uses robot drivers is gonna have a quicker supply chain, they're gonna save billions in labor costs, and just the big companies are gonna get bigger. It's estimated that companies will save between $100 and $125 billion by using robot trucks. Good for them, but Americans aren't gonna see any of that money. That money will go right into the pockets of the businesses, while the millions of Americans who will be most affected by this are gonna be left out in the cold. Taxing those corporations and giving the money back to the people, especially the ones who are most affected by automation, is probably the only way to keep our society going.
Oh, merry man!
This idea is called value-added tax. Basically, it's the idea that we tax companies more whenever new technologies or systems help them increase their profit margins. All industrialized countries do this, except for the United States. That's probably something worth addressing. So let's say this all works and people get an extra $1,000 per month. How would they use it? Let's go find out. Okay, Ella, what would you do with an extra $1,000 a month?
I would probably put it in my savings account.
I would probably buy a lot more food.
I would put it into my business savings to eventually help out to get a trailer.
Buying things. adding to their savings, reinvesting in their businesses. These are all great things, but one answer really stood out to me in particular.
Per month?
Yep.
Well,
Like universal basic income.
Yeah, gee, boy, I don't know. I'm a poor man. I don't even know what money is. I really don't. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
That's the person who UBI benefits the most. On the internet, it's so easy to get caught up in this bubble where we're just scrolling by people spending exorbitant amounts of money. But when you get out into the real world, you'll realize that there's a lot of people out there who have very little. Money is a luxury to us, and it's something we probably take for granted. I still don't think I've appeased the finance bros yet, so let me do that now. How would UBI affect the economy? Well, we just had a trial run with this with the COVID-19 stimulus checks, and we're paying for that, literally. But this would be different. For the stimulus checks, we reached into all sorts of emergency funds to get that money. Obviously, for UBI, we wouldn't be able to do that consistently. We'd have to find the money elsewhere. First, like I mentioned, we're going to have to implement value-added taxes to the corporations that benefit the most from automation. Standard European VAT rate is 21%, but that's 6 percentage points higher than the minimum EU regulation rate. It's safe to say America won't jump from 0 to 21, so let's just cut that in half. There's about $800 billion right there. Next, we would eliminate social services such as welfare and unemployment. UBI is kind of the reimagined version of this. Our budget for that is $1.5 trillion, so throw that in the pot. For the rest of the money, we're gonna have to do a little bit of speculating, namely on how UBI affects our society in general. First, let's talk about prison. Keeping prisoners in this country is expensive. On average, it costs between $35 to $40K per year to keep a prisoner locked up. And while yes, there are definitely people who need to be in prison, how many of the people in prison do you think were there because they committed some sort of crime because they had no money? I'm guessing a lot. So many people in this country get caught up in a cycle where they have no money, so they commit a crime, which gets them locked up, then they get out of prison and they can't get hired by anyone because they were locked up, so they have to resort to something like stealing, drug dealing, etc., get back in prison, and the cycle goes on and on. It's not productive for the people or the government. If they were given $1,000 per month, they'd have a baseline to build their life back up again, which in turn keeps them out of prison and saves the taxpayers a lot of money. Throw that money into the pot. That alone is a huge factor, but think about all the other ways society would benefit if there wasn't as much economic anxiety. Domestic violence would go down. Mental health will improve. Kids will be healthier. Hospitalizations will go down. This would all help to alleviate these programs set up for these problems, and that money that we'd save, you guessed it, goes back into the pot. Employers will also have to treat their employees better. Right now, so many businesses get away with offering their employees low wages, making them work long hours, and providing them no upward mobility. They can do this because, well, the alternative to having a shitty job is having no job. But with that little bit of extra money in their pocket, people are going to be so much more likely to leave a bad job. The Great Resignation was just a start. But here's the one thing that might be the most interesting. The idea of a trickle-up economy. People are going to have more money to spend, right? So people take that extra money and they buy more, or they invest more. This helps businesses to grow, and in turn leads to more innovation and a better society. There is a catch-22, meaning if people who are laid off by automation aren't as incentivized to get a new job, will they lack a meaning or a purpose? For as long as we can remember, people have kind of found their purpose or their meaning through their career. So if that's out the window now, where does that leave those people? First of all, who is gonna live off of just $1,000 per month? It's virtually impossible to live off of just $12,000 a year, so I can't imagine a world where people are just sitting at home collecting their UBI checks and being okay with it. Secondly, I think UBI would mark the start of a shift where people are no longer defined solely by their careers. You can find meaning in all sorts of ways. Maybe you can use the extra money to help benefit your community somehow. Maybe instead of having to take a second or a third job just to keep a roof over your head, you can use that time to spend with your kids and be a better parent. There's other options out there in the world. And don't we want to head towards a society where we aren't just working all the time? Isn't that kind of the point? For a lot of people, their job actually keeps them away from their true meaning or purpose. And with the foundation that is UBI, we can move towards a world where people are living the life that they want to live.